I'm ATBDante, and this is one of the weirdest shows I've ever been to. It was a fucking Tuesday, and I went to go see a hyperpop gospel show for free. This is Mike Saatchi. He's the hyperpop gospel artist in question. Yes, you heard that right. Hyperpop gospel. I released a full-length conversation with Mike Saatchi on Above the Bridge the same day I went to this show. The night started off mostly normal until I got to the venue. This venue was so out of place for this show. It looked like the Escondite. The bar looked really old, like it was from like the 20s or the 30s, but it also kind of resembled a factory. It was really weird. Check, is my water over there? When I was looking at their website, they did report that they had a dress code, and that they strongly discouraged things like logos, flip-flops, shiny shirts, and shorts.
There's a dress code for their show.
So thankfully, this bill was super aware and very respectful of this.
Oh, and now you're gonna ironically cut to footage from the show.
Yeah. This show was super long with a gigantic bill of artists, which is pretty traditional for rave shows of this nature, but I've never been to one that was quite this long. This shit literally lasted for over 4 hours. That's a really long time. First up was Mike Saatchi, who was the reason we came to the show in the first place. He definitely did his thing. The venue was pretty empty to begin with, but he brought a lot of great energy. As you'll see though, throughout the night the venue got pretty packed. At the peak of it, there was probably like 50 or 70 people in there, and on a Tuesday night, that's pretty good. I will say though, throughout the course of being at this show, I did begin to question, what was it all for? This show didn't really have any theme or consistency throughout the bill. It kind of just felt like a melting pot of a bunch of different friends in one community, all performing for each other the same night. I will say though, I think there's something beautiful about that. I don't think a Tuesday night show at a bar in DTLA has to go any deeper than that. And once I realized it, that was honestly kind of refreshing. Next, this guy came on. His name was Ian Icy. He was sort of like a hardcore hip-hop artist. He did a lot of rapping and a lot of screaming. Doing a deep dive on this artist was interesting because I realized that he had 117 singles that are out on Spotify, and that kind of felt reflective of the quantity-focused nature of this show. It's a pretty new idea that I've seen a lot of artists toy around with during the internet era, and it's pretty interesting to me because it feels very antithetical to the traditional artist cycle. But I digress. Ian brought out this guy, who I think was one of the better rappers that performed this night, and this brought the total artists that have already performed up to 3. Remember that number. Next, this artist came up. I think his name was Karma Rhythm, but I'm not super confident in that because by this time of the night, the details of each artist kind of began to blend in. I also realized at this point that a bunch of the artists that were coming on stage weren't even on the original bill. And again, like I've been to shows like this before, but nothing that was ever amplified to this magnitude. Well, looking through Karma Rhythm's Instagram, I found a really interesting show flyer. It had 4 genres listed at the top of it: Digicore, Hyperpop, Scenecore, and Hardstyle. Outside of hyperpop, I had never really heard of any of these genres, so I decided to research them a little bit and try to figure out exactly what I was watching at the show. The definition of digicore that I was able to find stated that the genre was developed in the late 2010s and is characterized by a frantic, bombastic, and glamorous production style, usually derived from trap music that serves to accompany highly melodious, auto-tuned, and high-pitched vocal performances, often done with breathy voice singing and sing-rapping. The definition of hyperpop that I was able to find stated that it was a genre that was developed and took inspiration from bubblegum bass and popular 2000s and 2010s electropop, characterized by eclectic, unconventional, and mechanical sounding and dense production, and by manipulated, usually auto-tuned vocals. When I tried to find the definition of scenecore, I literally couldn't find one anywhere on the internet, but I did find a bunch of pictures that looked like this. And when I looked up hardstyle, I found a definition on Wikipedia that said that it was an electronic dance genre that emerged in the late 1990s, with origins in the Netherlands, Belgium, and Italy. Hardstyle mixes influence from techno, new beat, and hardcore. Hopefully that provides a little bit of context into the show that we were watching. Next, an artist named Somber Siren came on, who was probably my favorite artist of the night, but her music definitely existed in a vein of its own on this bill. Her music was like somewhere between electronic rock and electronic pop music, but it was super catchy, and definitely one of my favorites of the night. Next, an artist named Schmaxwell came on. And he was sort of like an electronic rapper, but it felt like he fit on this bill better than most of these guys. Next was an artist named Archeo, who was actually DJing almost every other set throughout the night. I think he definitely had some of the best energy in this whole show, and there was even a point where he brought the entire audience on stage. I will say though, I definitely think by this point in the night, my ears were starting to get a little fatigued. Next, an artist named Ghost Girl came on, who was listed as the headliner, but there were at least like 3 or 4 other artists that came on after her. After Ghost Girl came what I would call the second biggest curveball of the night, an artist named Hair Jordan. He was mostly an emo rock artist, but he also started selling hair dye on stage, which apparently is a really big part of his brand. I looked into it a little bit, and I found out that he was actually a very successful YouTuber back in the day, who had well over 100,000 subscribers. After Hair Jordan, this guy came on, and honestly, he's not listed on the bill, and I can't find any of his socials, and I don't remember what his name is, but he was a pretty traditional lyrical rapper. At this point, I was lost. We started with hyper gospel, went to emo rock, lyrical rap, rap rock, we did electronic music, we did scene core, but little did I know that the craziest was yet to come. This is Riley Queso.
As of last year, I cleared a net worth of $1 trillion billion.
He was the last artist that I watched this evening because frankly at this point I just couldn't take any more noise on my ears. Not even to say that the music was that bad, it just I couldn't take it. Was just too much. It was too long.
And representation division, because we fuck with you the long way, gang. Come on.
I will say though, this was by far the best finale to this show that I ever could have asked for. This guy walked into the venue like he owned the place. He brought a laptop, a projector, a widescreen, and he walked in wearing a suit with an entire posse of people. He opened his set with a slideshow, where he broke down some of the very basic principles at which he abides by. First, he introduced an acronym that explained the way that he lived his life.
I figured out how to excel in life by having a system. And it just happened to fit into an acronym of my name. Who would have fucking thought? It's called the Riley system. If you'll look here, the R stands for reevaluate your life. Okay? And, the I initiate action. Okay? Change your shit. Without change, there's no change. Rick Rubin said that. L, lose the tune. Fuck ever got anywhere with a shitty attitude. Fuck those guys. Come on, buck up, partner. And E, engage and prosper.
Next, his intern came on stage and spilled coffee on him by mistake.
What the fuck, man? Is this fucking decaf?
After this, he did a quick advertisement for a performance-enhancing pill that he had developed to help some of his peers.
And this is a product I'm really proud of. This is Nitro Burt milk. It's milk made from compressed dirt chocolate. It's 1,000% man, baby.
And then with what was probably the most unexpected move of the night, he brought out Treva Spitta. And at this point, I had too much. I left.
But that was like straight up maybe the weirdest show I've ever been to. Like, I genuinely off the top of my head cannot name a show that was weirder than that. I just feel like I need to tell everybody about this right now. Like, you ever have one of those, like, you know what I mean? Like, you ever have one of those experiences where you leave somewhere and you're like, I just have to tell everybody about this. Like, it's not computing. Like, it's one of those, like, world collide moments that just, like, it shouldn't happen. Are we even on the right street? Did I even park here? That's it, man. That's it. I'm going home. We're going home. I guess you can hear me technically right now. I guess that's kind of crazy that you can hear me outside of the car. Yeah, I've been going to shows for like 5 to 6 years consistently. Probably like 6 years consistently. And that's probably the craziest one I've ever been to.